Hi, my name is Duncan McKenzie, and this is Bad at Sports. And I wanted to begin this talk with this beautiful Georgia O'Keeffe painting from 1965, which is owned by the Art Institute of Chicago, as a little bit of a treat for all of us before we get in the hard work of figuring out what on earth I mean by my title, performative publishing. It also invokes that space of contemplation and that kind of intimidating space that is the kind of topic of art, right? So, it's 2005. Our iPods look like this. Our cell phones look like this. And we always have to carry both at the same time. And people are just waking up to a reality that there is about to be a seismic shift in the way we experience radio. And Richard Holland and I are preparing for an adventure that would very quickly pull in another 50 contributors and thousands of other folks. And we have a few central questions that maybe we weren't quite fully aware of at that moment. Here we are in an outpost of the art world, Chicago. And we're watching our scene, the Chicago contemporary art scene, go under-documented and under-reflected in national media. And we feel like something special is going on, but all of these things are happening, and they're just really happening for the people in those rooms. They're not happening in a way that feels like it has the presence it needs, and we feel like we're part of something really special and really magical. And that under-documentation seems to be siphoning off and deflating our entire scene. And we're all sitting around wondering, who's going to document all the brilliant things we are doing? And we thought, okay, what is the most reflective way to share an artwork with the world, right? And so naturally we found that radio would be that thing, that we should experience this through description rather than the way that we normally experience art, which is through our eyes and through our physical bodies, right? And so we wondered, okay, right? Because there's an incongruity there. And the problem is that as we look at art, we have to wonder to ourselves, like, if this should be intuitive as we stare at a picture or an object, why does it always feel so hard to figure out what these things are, or what they mean, or why they're there, or why anyone is presenting to us? Why does it even feel like, as an expert in contemporary art, somebody still needs to explain this stuff to us? So we're standing around, it's 2005 again, we're standing around in people's studios, hanging around at art shows, and we are more than a little curious, but more than a little skeptical. And we know that we have demands of artworks, right? We want things of them. And we know that we want to do this together. We want to be connected to this scene, because even as artists, as we hide behind the pictures and objects we make, we want to feel connected. And we know that there is a lot of us, right? So Richard Holland and I, with our friends Brian Andrews and Amanda Browder, started a podcast. Today that seems like everyone would do that, right? Like, you see a couple of people chatting and they're making a podcast. But at the time, there were no systems of distribution for those things, no big Apple iPod store, no Spotify, nothing like that. There was Adam Carolla and maybe 3,000 weirdos on the planet who were like, oh, these pipelines are big enough, our hard drives are big enough, we could make radio shows for these iPods. And today, a kind of radio show and a podcast are synonymous things, right? They are the same sort of thing, but radio is an event. You experience it through time. It is broadcast to you, but it is a thing that is durational and performative. Whereas a podcast is a kind of intimate publication. It is a document that comes directly inside of your head through headphones, right? And in that way, it acts more like a publication. It calls together a public through time and space. It shares, right? And we began thinking, like, okay, we got to do a radio show. We'll treat art kind of sillily, like we're on Howard Stern, but we'll take it very seriously and bring a level of erudition that you might expect from Face the Nation. We're going to make it fun and we're going to swear, which we don't associate with contemporary art a lot, but we wanted it to be for the audience like the kind of conversation about art you would have at a bar after the art show, as you and your friends try and negotiate what it means. We would be rough and tumble, we would be very committed, but we would also be very serious about the content. So now we're most of the way through the first season of Bad at Sports. We are on episode 872 of the 999 episodes of the first season of Bad at Sports, and we're 19 years into this project. But the work has always been about pulling humans together and kind of creating new kinds of experiences around the notion of artwork and around the notion of art practice. And so the show also became a rec room. The show became a wall drawing. The show became a sound installation. The show became a series of records. The show became a series of reenactments. The show became more records. The show became a pirate radio station with a series of gig posters for our pirate radio intercessions. As this one by our dear friends Ed Sonnenzimmer, another Chicago legend, it became a kind of roaming event, Humans with Microphones, a series of tailgating events at museums and art shows, always complete with hot dogs and beer. It became intense conversations, literally embodied in tents, so that the live experience of us doing the show also had us remote from anyone listening to us doing the show. It became merchandise. It became a series of art fair booths, which we're very difficult to get into because our dear friend Claire Ashley made us giant inflatable sculptures that would keep people out. So you see this one in Chicago at Chicago Expo. You see this one at NADA New York in 2017, and my dear friend Amanda Browder inside of it. And here you see us doing a radio show as we come back from podcasting to traditional media on WLPN 105.5 FM. It also became a museum sound takeover where we broadcast across the entire Queens Museum and the surrounding park. So wherever you went in the museum or in the park, you would hear our arts chatter. So that conversation and discourse would resonate across that space. Here we became a wall mural you will find on the Hyde Park Arts Center and a series of AR triggers so that you could literally bring artists and their animations to your phone. So along the way we learned that you have to make your scene, right? No one's gonna do it for you, that you need to be the one who steps up and documents that space, and that space, that publication, that record you are making with your peers becomes a space for time and memorial. That you don't wait for other people to do it for you, they won't. And you say it, well, you still mean it, right? Because you know you're gonna be wrong about certain things. You know you won't always get it 100% right. But you should always be brave enough to get it wrong and learn from that. And in doing so, we call together a public. We make friends we have never met. We spark ideas and inspiration in humans well beyond our scene, and we help them to make their own scenes. Art is there to make us think, to force us into dialogue, to reckon with it, and to reckon with other people's ideas about that experience. It pushes us to recognize those ideas, to reflect on our own senses of being. It challenges us. It intrigues us, sometimes it offends us. It is there to provoke conversation in the hopes that new ideas emerge from our dialogue with it. And there is nothing we like more than a mystery, and contemporary art provides more than enough wonder for 1,000 human lifetimes. Performative publishing is a way to understand publishing as practice, and publications not as tomes, but as nodes in the life of a long-running conversation that spreads through time and materials. We open windows into communities having various debates on the hows and whys of materially expressing our humanity. We're the Bad at Sports, and we're here for your art. Thank you.